Hi everyone. Hi, how are you all? I hope I should be audible. Just let me know if you guys can hear me or not. So if you can hear me, you can just write a yes. Actually, I'm doing this YouTube live after a long time and have never done it very frequently. So I could have missed out on some technical settings or something like that. So just let me know if my voice and video are clear enough. Okay. So I can see one person has said yes. Siddharth has said yes. तो I can assume मैं assume कर सकता हूँ सभी को आवाज़ सुनाई दे रही होगी एंड वीडियो भी क्लियर आ रहा होगा. I can trust. Okay, great. So मैं काफ़ी excited था to talk about things related to placement because I know that this season, this winters of November, December, Jan, uh, it reminds me of placements. And this is something um, like almost in all the colleges, placements are at peak. And if I were to remember my college days, तो जब मैं फाइनल ईयर में था, इट वाज ईयर 2016, तो उस समय भी like the placements began because in our college it was a ritual that placements have to begin from 1st of December. So it kind of just felt like that, yeah, this is the right time to talk about it. And yeah, you might already have seen headlines in the newspapers saying that these many offers at this IIT and so much crore of offer to this guy from so and so HFT, from so and so MNC, right? So, so yeah, I really wanted to touch upon few things over here. Uh, सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैं ये बता देता हूँ कि आई विल बी वेरी हैप्पी टू आंसर योर क्वेश्चंस. तो आपके अगर कुछ क्वेश्चंस हैं तो आप बिंदास उसे चैट पे लिखो. यू कैन फील फ्री टू टाइप इट इन द चैट बॉक्स. आई विल आंसर देम. एंड मीनवाइल मैं कुछ ऐसे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स को टच करना चाहूँगा विच आई गॉट टू नो फ्रॉम द रीसेंट एक्सपीरियंसेस ऑफ पीपल. जिन लोगों ने काफ़ी रिसेंटली इंटरव्यू दिया है या इंटरव्यूज़ लिए हैं, उनके साइड से जो कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंटर्स मिले हैं वो मैं आपके साथ शेयर करूँगा. तो इन बिटवीन इफ़ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस फील फ्री टू आस्क. आई वुड लव टू आंसर दोज. So first of all, I'll begin by asking you a question. How many of you feel that given the drastic change that we have seen in last 2 years, like सबको पता है ना, chat GPT came up and then recession also came. So many things came at once, hire freeze and a lot of things. So do you believe that a lot of companies might have changed their interviewing paradigm? कितने लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि कुछ कंपनीज ने इस चक्कर में अपने इंटरव्यू का पैटर्न, इंटरव्यू का जो पैराडाइम होता है वही चेंज कर दिया होगा? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू फील लाइक दैट? So I'll tell you. Just a few weeks back, I was talking to one of my friends who happens to be a senior manager at one of the FANG companies. So I was just being curious and we were having great discussion. So I just ended up asking him, has something changed? I mean, the way you were hiring before recession and chat GPT thing and the way you are hiring right now, is there a change? I mean, are you asking different things? So this question is just like asking something like this, that maybe 20 years ago IIT जेई में फिज़िक्स केमिस्ट्री मैथ्स आता था. आज भी फिज़िक्स केमिस्ट्री मैथ्स ही आता है क्या, या फिर आज कंप्यूटर साइंस के कुछ कंसेप्ट्स आते हैं या एनीथिंग डिफरेंट? तो आई गॉट टू नो दैट नो, द हायरिंग पैराडाइम हैज़ नॉट चेंज्ड. इफ़ यू अप्लाई फॉर अ SD1 रोल एट Amazon और Microsoft, अगर आप इन कंपनीज़ में SD1 के लिए अप्लाई करते हो, तो इन दैट केस let me tell you, you will still be asked lots and lots of DSA questions. DSA problem solving will still be the backbone of the interview, but I'll tell you what is the but part of it. So, first of all, you will not be asked about generative AI. You will not be expected to know ML algorithms. Nobody will expect you to know things like LangChain or RAG or anything which is related to generative AI. ये आपसे नहीं पूछा जाएगा. Prompt engineering नहीं पूछा जाएगा. Things will continue to be the same. Problem solving ही जज किया जाएगा. But now there is a difference here. So I'll tell you what the difference is. When recession kicked in, the kind of scenario that we are seeing, there are a lot of people, a lot of best of the talents are also kind of struggling to get job, right? So this is a market where demand and supply का game तो सबको पता है ना. Everyone understands the game of demand and supply. So there is a lot that is in the supply. तो demand side पे अगर देखा जाए तो people will be very choosy. For example, let's say you have to buy something from the market, right? And if it's present in plenty, then you have lot of tantrums while buying it. आप छोटे छोटे नुक्स निकालते हो. This is not good, that is not good. Maybe I'll bargain here, I'll bargain there, right? So the same thing happens here. The expectations of interviewers have gone up and they have significantly gone up. और ये चीज़ मैं एक दो या तीन लोगों के एक्सपीरियंस से नहीं बता रहा हूँ. I have talked with many people who gave interviews, failed in them as well as cracked others, and उनका ये experience है that the expectations have gone up. Now, what do I mean by expectations? You have to be ready for a lot of surprise questions. A lot of questions जो शायद पहले नहीं पूछा जाता था. For example, let me share what someone told me. He was interviewing with a very well-known fan company, right? And he had a very good interviewer sitting in front of him asking him good questions. So he asked him a question on Kruskal's algorithm. तो एक सवाल पूछा which was a DSA question जो Kruskal's algorithm से solve हो सकता था. तो he had already studied Kruskal's algorithm and उसने Kruskal's algorithm को कुछ questions पे apply भी किया था. अच्छी practice थी उसकी. So he was able to solve it. उसने solve कर दिया. Time complexity, space complexity, सब कुछ अच्छे से बता दिया. Within 30 minutes he was able to write the code. All test cases passed. Everything was great. Everything was, awesome. Then what interviewer told that okay, Kruskal's algorithm के ये step होते हैं, right? That every time you pick the the edge with the least weight and तुम ये ध्यान रखते हो कि cycle ना बन जाए because you have to create a tree and all that. Let me change some steps in this algorithm. अगर मैं इस algorithm में कुछ steps change कर दूँ, will this algorithm still work? Now, that kind of question is a different question, I'll tell you. बिकॉज हमारे अंदर यूजुअली मेंटेलिटी क्या होती है कि इफ़ समबडी इज़ टीचिंग अस एल्गोरिदम, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ learning resources out there, YouTube channels and DSA courses and what not. बहुत कुछ है, right? So if you are learning algorithm from somewhere, our mental model is that okay, these are the steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. इसको मैं कोड में कन्वर्ट कर लूँगा and then I'll remember it and then I'll use it to solve the problems. This is not the right way to go about it. Because in this process, we forget to reason about the correctness of an algorithm. Now, this is very, very important. आज के डेट में अगर आप मेरे से ये सवाल पूछते हो कि what is the major difference according to you in between an average problem solver and an amazing problem solver, then I would not say the number of problems that they have solved on lead code or code forces. I would say their ability to come up with proof of correctness, their ability to reason about correctness. अगर कोई भी एल्गोरिदम हमें कहीं से भी सीखने को मिलता है तो कैन वी हैव अ मैथमेटिकल बेंट ऑफ माइंड, और क्या हम क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं कि हे वाई दिस स्टेप, वाई दैट स्टेप. अगर वो चीज़ हम करते हैं देन वी आर अ ट्रू प्रॉब्लम सॉल्वर. देन You do not need to solve thousands of questions on lead code or anywhere. Like, I'll tell you personally, I happen to know a lot of my seniors who are in industry at very senior positions. They are not doing lead code, and in the past also they did good enough amount of questions, but not like 500 or 1000. But they are amazing problem solvers. Why? Because their first principles are very correct. Their first principles are very strong. जो फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल होता है किसी भी चीज़ को सीखने का, वो होता है टू लर्न बाय क्वेश्चनिंग, बाय आस्किंग द राइट सेट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. Okay. There is a very well known book. It is written by Steven Skinner. Have you heard of this book? एक बहुत ही अच्छी किताब है एल्गोरिदम्स की, एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हो. तो इस बुक में ही हैज़ द ऑथर हैज़ मेंशन्ड दैट अगर एल्गोरिदम्स का डिस्कशन कहीं हो रहा होता है, इफ़ पीपल आर डिस्कसिंग एल्गोरिदम्स, देन in that room where it is being discussed, the most useful person is that person who asks why this, why that, why not this, why not that. Somebody who questions, somebody who cuts, that kind of person is the most useful person in the room. He is learning the most and he is allowing others also to learn the most. I'll give you a very small exercise. Whatever algorithms you have learned, अपने आप को एक बार चैलेंज करना टू कम अप विद प्रूफ ऑफ करेक्टनेस फॉर दिस. एंड इफ़ यू डू नॉट नो प्रूफ ऑफ करेक्टनेस का क्या मतलब होता है, हैव यू हर्ड ऑफ द बुक कॉर्मेन, विच इज़ ऑल्सो अकॉर्डिंग टू मी बाइबल ऑफ एल्गोरिदम्स. CLRS Corman, it's followed in so many colleges out there, right? So you can explore that book and you can find out how the authors of that book come up with proofs behind different solutions, behind different algorithms. And if you want to check one, I would say uske andar ek problem hai. It's a greedy problem called as activity selection problem. तो activity selection problem का proof of correctness पढ़ सकते हो. प्रूफ से हमारे दिमाग में हमेशा ट्रिग्नोमेट्रिक इक्वेशंस एंड कैलकुलस एंड इस तरह की चीज़ें आती है, राइट? बट अ कंप्यूटर साइंस प्रूफ नीड्स नॉट बी दैट. इनफैक्ट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स इट्स नॉट दैट. 99.99% ऑफ द टाइम्स इट्स जस्ट लॉजिक. कुछ थोड़ा बहुत लॉजिक अगर कॉलेज में डिस्क्रीट मैथ्स में पढ़ा होगा या नहीं भी पढ़ा होगा, देन यू कैन रिलेट विद सच सॉर्ट्स ऑफ प्रूफ्स. सो या, लेट मी गेट बैक टू द पॉइंट जिसकी मैं बात कर रहा था. A very important thing is that you should not accept something the way it is presented to you. Your mind should be open to a lot of questions, right? While learning algorithms, make sure that you look behind the proof of correctness and you should be able to reason why something is correct or why something is incorrect. Why I'm saying that is because हमारे अंदर टेंडेंसी क्या होती है कि हमें एक प्रॉब्लम मिला, हमने उसे कोड कर लिया, सारे टेस्ट केसेस चल गए, अब हम मस्त खुश हैं, वी आर वेरी हैप्पी. अ फ्रेंड कम्स एंड ही सेज दैट यार मेरा ये अप्रोच है, कैन यू टेल मी व्हाट इज़ रॉन्ग अबाउट इट. आई विल टेल यू 90% ऑफ द पीपल डू नॉट टेक एन इंटरेस्ट इन इट. 90% लोग बोलते हैं तुम्हारा कोड तुम्हारी रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, यू फिगर आउट. बट आई विल टेल यू, if you cannot find out the fault in others' approach, then there is something huge that you are missing out on. There is a big company in the domain of payments and finance. So it conducts interviews in a very interesting mode. Its interviews are not very formal interviews like maybe asking DSA questions and all. Like, yeah, they check for problem solving, but they check for it in a very nice manner. So one of my friends who recently interviewed with them shared the experience. So what they do is they'll give you some code, and it could be a small code, it could be a big project, it could be anything, okay? And they will introduce some naughty kind of bug inside it. कोई तो अजीब सा बग उसमें इंट्रोड्यूस कर देंगे. उस बग के कारण हो सकता है किसी API का रिस्पॉन्स गलत आ रहा हो, या किसी फंक्शन से गलत आउटपुट आ रहा हो, या किसी पर्टिकुलर टेस्ट केस के लिए रन टाइम एक्सेप्शन आ रहा हो, एंड देन दे विल आस्क यू टू डीबग इट. तो उसे डीबगिंग राउंड बोलते हैं. इन दैट डीबगिंग राउंड यू आर सपोज टू शेयर योर स्क्रीन विद द इंटरव्यूअर, आप अपने स्क्रीन को इंटरव्यूअर के साथ शेयर करते हो. इंटरव्यूअर interviewer is like a silent spectator. He just looks at what are the different actions that you are taking. He even at times allows you to use Google. आप Google use कर सकते हो. You can, search for different error terms and all. So he would see what are the small steps that you take. Like if you put log statements in certain function to improve logging so that you can debug faster, he would look out for that. And then based on what steps you have taken, he would make out that, yeah, your debugging acumen is strong, right? So you have to be ready for such sort of surprises if at all that happens in interview, because your interviewer will not uh, will not want to have a complacent attitude towards hiring. Usually हमारे साथ क्या होता है, we are asked a question in an interview, we are able to solve it, and let's say it's been 45 to 50 minutes, then we are like, now it's done, now it's completely done, so now mostly I should be selected, and we get into that complacent zone. I would say no, do not get into that. It's not over until it's over. Okay, so your interviewer can always throw away different surprises to you, so you have to be ready for that. And considering that, like few basic things that you can do is make your first principle strong. अपने proof of correctness को improve करो. Try working on your reasoning skills, not just learning algorithms and data structures and all that. And second thing, do not just debug your code, but also learn how to debug others' code, because that teaches you a lot. तो ये एक बड़ी चीज़ है. दूसरी चीज़ जो मैं शेयर करना चाहता हूँ वो ये है कि लिसन, एज ऑफ नाउ बहुत सारी कंपनीज जो स्पेशली फ्रेशर्स को या 1 year 2 year एक्सपीरियंस को हायर करती हैं, दे हायर देम ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ हाउ गुड इज़ देयर कंप्यूटेशनल थिंकिंग. देखो, कंप्यूटर साइंस के अंदर देयर आर 3 kinds ऑफ थिंकिंग, एंड यू हैव टू फिगर आउट कि आप कहाँ स्ट्रांग हो और आप कहाँ कमज़ोर हो, so that you can work on the right thing. So what are those 3 different kinds of thinking? If you ask me this question, you have got computational thinking, you have got systems thinking, and then you have got design thinking. Computational thinking is more like mathematical, ds algo, ये सारी चीज़ें वहाँ पे प्रेजेंट होती हैं कि हाउ मैथमेटिकली साउंड, लॉजिकली साउंड यू आर. तो ये चीज़ यूजुअली डीएस एल्गो के क्वेश्चंस, मैथमेटिकल क्वेश्चंस या फिर पजल्स, इन चीज़ों के साथ चेक किया जाता है. द सेकेंड थिंग इज सिस्टम्स थिंकिंग. सो जब मैं सिस्टम्स थिंकिंग बोलता हूँ तो मेरा क्या मतलब है ये मैं बताता हूँ. सी, एवरी इंजीनियरिंग डिसिप्लिन हैज़ गॉट सर्टेन सिस्टम्स इनसाइड इट. अगर आप उस सिस्टम को अच्छे से नहीं जानते हो तो आप रियल वर्ल्ड एप्लीकेशंस नहीं बना पाओगे. आप कोड कहाँ लिखोगे? आप कोड ज़िंदगी भर अपने ऑनलाइन आईडीई या फिर इंटेलिजे इस पे ही लिख के नहीं चलाओगे. यू विल नॉट रन योर कोड ऑन योर लोकल मशीन, यू विल रन इट on some infrastructure, maybe on cloud, and then there will be lot of systems which will come into play, right? तो कंप्यूटर साइंस में अगर सिस्टम्स की बात की जाती है, देन देयर आर 3 important systems. दे आर taught in all the colleges: operating systems, computer networks, and database management system. These are the 3 things that you should know in and out of. If you do not know about them, you will not be able to solve practical problems. You might be good at maths, you might be good at DSA, but when so let's say somebody gives you a problem, asks you that, hey, we have 10 raised to power 6 different integers and we want to do something with it. तो तुम बोलोगे कि मैं एक इंटीजर एरे बना लूँगा और उससे बात बन जाएगी. Now that person goes on to say that, hey, now you have 10 raised to power 10 integers, and if you cannot store all of them in your RAM, you cannot just use an array. तो वहाँ पे you have to think, where would you store that data and how would you read that data? The nature of the problem significantly changes when the scale of the problem changes, And then that introduces different elements in the problem. It's not just a computationally challenging problem, it's also a systematically challenging problem. So, somebody who doesn't know about operating systems, threads, processes, he cannot work with concurrent data structures. He cannot solve a problem that involves locking and all. Similarly, somebody who doesn't know about databases, he or she cannot deal with data that cannot fit into computer memory or wherever persistence is needed. Again, the same thing applies to network. Like I'll tell you, I was very surprised and shocked. Few days back, I saw a video on YouTube where I found somebody saying that, hey, कंप्यूटर नेटवर्क्स में सिर्फ टीसीपी एंड यूडीपी पढ़ लो एंड थोड़ा बहुत आईपी वगैरह दैट इज गुड इनफ फॉर इंटरव्यू दैट इज सच बुलशिट दैट इज सच बुलशिट never trust those things. So you have to understand in and out of it. Now again, there is a level to the amount of depth at which you have to go, but things are not that shallow that you learn just 2 3 concepts and then everything is all right. ऐसा कहीं नहीं होता. Okay, I'll add one more thing to it. A few days back, I also ended up seeing a video where somebody was saying that hard work is not enough to get you a job in this market. I'll tell you, in this market, people who I have seen getting jobs, even from service based to product based, amazing transition. So, very recently, I saw a guy transitioning from Accenture to Nutanix. Nutanix is an amazing company to work for. It has a great talent. Like few of my best classmates have been there, seniors have been there, so I can say that guy was able to accomplish it purely because of his hard work. Purely because of his hard work. So if somebody tells you that hard work is not the way, just plug your ears and move away because that is the only way. Yeah, luck and all, they come in the end and play their role. But luck favors somebody who is prepared for interviews. Somebody who is not prepared is out even before the interview begins. So you cannot discard that hard work fact. Why I'm talking about it is because a lot of people feel that market ही अच्छा नहीं है, jobs ही नहीं है, तो पढ़े क्यों, तैयारी किस चीज़ की करें. This is called as, according to me, I'll be blatantly honest, this is called as a hopeless mindset. When you have lost the hope. So this way you are not going to accomplish anything for sure. Um, so I was just watching a video and I also read it in one of the blogs where some professor from a university in US went on to say the last time when recession happened and US was badly impacted, there were very few jobs. During that time, his college produced the brightest engineers because those guys literally, kind of fought to get job. They studied very hard. They over prepared themselves. So these are some times which produce amazing talent also. This is what the history has reflected, right? So there is silver line to everything, I would say. Yeah, for sure there are some companies which are on higher fees, but then there are a lot of companies which are on lookout for great talent also. And who knows when the situation is going to improve, right? So it doesn't make any sense to be hopeless at this point of time, I would say. Okay, so I was talking about systems thinking and I told you that how important are knowledge of operating systems, DBMS, computer networks. Anywhere it is important because any project or application that you build that is built on top of these systems. You build a web application, it has a database. It uses some networking protocols to communicate. Then it spawns some threads and processes. So so basically, I would say any software system is a linear combination of operating system, databases, and computer networks. So the better you are at these three things, better you will be at building any project from scratch, I tell you. And now, uh, see, take example of any system out there. Like, let's say all of you know about motor. Motor is a system, right? Somebody has to first understand in and out of the motor, has to understand how it rotates, how it moves, how it works in general, what is the principle behind it. And then that someone who has understood it can probably build a wrapper on top of it and build a good and useful product out of it. For example, fan. Fan is a great invention. Whoever did it, I don't know who did it, is a great invention which utilizes motor, right? Now, the same thing applies here in computer systems also. Somebody who truly understands computer systems can actually build a great software system, a resilient software system. So that is important, right? Um, Now, based on the genre of companies, you can figure out that, hey, what kind of system expertise they would be interested in. Like, they might not ask in-depth question from freshers, but they would want freshers to know about it. For example, if there is a company which works in networking domain, for example, let's say Arista Networks, they might want to ask some questions which are related to uh, computer networking. If there are some companies which are from the, let's say, let's consider VMware, they might want to grill you on the concepts of operating systems, right? So this way also you can figure out that if you are interviewing with some company, what is it which you need to brush up. Okay. um, Now, finally, the final thing is design thinking. It is not as important for freshers as it is for working professionals, to be honest. But these days, even freshers are expected to know about it. Like, I know there are certain companies which conduct machine coding round even for freshers. And there the expectation is how clean and structured code you are able to write. Uh, a very simple example of uh, a question to check your design skill could be, just design a snake and ladder game for me, right? So when you have to design a snake and ladder game, how do you go about thinking about different entities? How do you create different classes? How do you write your abstractions? That is what uh, defines you. This is one part of design, which is called as low level design. The second part of it is high level design. High level design has got mostly to do with, I mean, if you question yourself that, hey, you have built a simple web server which offers CRUD applications, and let's say it is right now it is capable of handling maybe 10 to 50 transactions per second. If you want to scale it to 100,000 transactions per second, what are the things that you will have to do? What kind of scaling you will have to do? You'll have to go to the cloud, and then what will be the resources on the cloud? Something called as a load balancer will come up. And then, of course, you will have to horizontally scale or vertically scale. You'll have to choose, and then there'll be databases, and then there'll be a lot of things. So system design mostly revolves around these systemic components, not the code part. So again, not frequently asked from freshers, but it is definitely a good to know thing. Now, why I spoke about these three things is because, according to me, and in general also, somebody who is a great software developer is a person who has a balanced knowledge from computational thinking, design thinking, as well as systems thinking. All these three are important. Okay. As a fresher, I would say for now you can focus a lot on your computational thinking. When I say computational thinking, do not just a few days back, I read a term in some blog written on uh, some discussion platform. Somebody wrote, there used to be a company who used to hire code monkeys. So I was very intrigued by what does this code monkey mean. So they basically were referring to somebody who can quickly code DSA problems without caring anything about it. But then that person went on to say that now that company doesn't just care about code monkeys, but they also check for certain other attributes in your code, right? They want to see how clean your code is, how modularized it is. So all those things are also very, very important. Okay. Um, so yeah, I think these are few really important things that you would want to keep in your mind. Like the hiring paradigm has not changed, expectations definitely have, and I wanted to talk about those expectations in general. So, like, I'll be very honest, but you definitely need to over prepare. Like, this is the time to over prepare. And a lot of the people who kind of made it till the last round of the interview and ended up getting rejected got rejected because of a variety of reasons, which also I believe could be useful if I share. There are a lot of companies which end their interview with a round on behavioral or leadership skills or leadership traits. In those rounds, certain questions are asked to assess your persona. When they have to assess your persona, the only way for them to be able to do that is by hearing your story, true story. Now, there they ask questions like these. For example, a question could be, what was the last time you had a conflict with your workmates, with the people who you were working with? And how did you go about resolving that conflict? This is a situational question, right? Similarly, another question could be, what was the last time you seeked out for help from somebody? And how did you go about it? Please try not to make a story around it. I mean, an imaginary story around it. You can take 2 minutes, you can just think about if a scenario like that actually happened, or maybe the closest possible scenario, and then talk about it. So, when such questions are asked, you have to come up with a real setting, and then how you responded to that scenario, to that situation, that talks a lot about your personality. For example, let's say somebody goes for asking a help without doing prior research on Google or internet, then that is not considered great. Because if you join a company and every time you're bugging your senior engineers with small, small things without doing your own homework, without doing your own research, that is not considered great. So if somebody's answer includes that, hey, I got this error, I tried this forum, that forum, I tried making these changes, I jotted down that what was the behavior of the system under different environment, and then I reached out for help, and then based on the feedback that I got, I spent few hours again, and then I was able to resolve it. So that talks a lot about you. That talks about you that, yeah, you are somebody who genuinely asked for a help after you have given your personal best to it. So it's just an example that I'm giving. These situational and behavioral rounds are to judge your persona, and also a lot of times to see if you are a cultural fit to the company or not. Okay, so those rounds are not to be taken very casually, because many a times it happens that people, लोग मचा देते हैं, they nail their technical interview rounds, but something goes haywire in these rounds and then the offer doesn't come. So that also is to be taken care of. Yeah. Did I make some sense? How many of you could relate to the pointers that I have given, the things that I have talked about? Can you just type in yes? Because I have been speaking since almost half an hour. Okay, so now I'll go on and answer some of the questions that a lot of you have asked. So Abhishek asked this question, how to prepare for LLD and HLD. First of all, difference समझ में आया LLD और HLD में? Did you understand the difference? तो LLD is much more relevant to you than HLD, because if you are a fresher, okay, or if you are asking me the roadmap for LLD, I have created a wonderful roadmap for it, but I can just quickly glance through it. सबसे पहले एक ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज सीखो. इट कुड बी एनीथिंग, जावा, सी प्लस प्लस, कुछ भी हो सकता है. और उसके अंदर जितने भी इम्पॉर्टेंट कीवर्ड्स होते हैं, स्टैटिक, फाइनल, पब्लिक, प्राइवेट, उनको अच्छे से समझ लो. And then understand the basic pillars of OOPS: abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance. जब ये सब चीज़, once you have mastered these things, उसके बाद क्या कर सकते हो कि you can just move on, and you can move on to uh, solid principles. Solid principles, these are 5 design principles, and they are, I would tell you, the backbone of any low level design interview, or backbone of any low level design in general. उसके बारे में पढ़ो, and then you can try out some design patterns. While you are doing these things, make sure to practice some important case studies, like designing a parking lot, or designing a game of chess, or designing a coffee vending machine. Okay, but be careful. Why I'm saying be careful is because, unlike DSA, design में there is no right or wrong. यहाँ पे कुछ right और wrong नहीं होता है. तो कई बार बहुत सारे wrong solutions को भी बहुत अच्छी publicity मिल जाती है, because there is nobody to verify them, right? So learn from the right place, and at least figure out कि जो भी solution तुम्हें किसी केस स्टडी का मिला है, वो बेसिक सॉलिड प्रिंसिपल्स को ऑनर कर रहा है या नहीं, राइट? एटलीस्ट फिगर आउट दोज थिंग्स. रिगार्डिंग हाई लेवल डिज़ाइन, आई विल टेल यू, सबसे पहले तो अपनी सिस्टम्स अंडरस्टैंडिंग को अच्छा कर लो. लर्न अबाउट डेटाबेस, लर्न अबाउट कंप्यूटर नेटवर्क्स, ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम्स, अंडरस्टैंड दीज थिंग्स वेरी वेल. Build a project, try to deploy that project on cloud. When you are deploying it on cloud, just see what are the different terms that you get to hear. क्या क्या चीज़ें सुनने को मिलती हैं. यू विल हियर अ लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंट जार्गन्स. यू विल हियर DNS, you will hear load balancers, databases, maybe caches if you are using a cache. And I would say intentionally try to use some very hot and well known softwares. Let's say just read a little bit about, just say Kafka is very hot. What is Kafka? Maybe when you explore it, you'll get to hear different terms like message brokers, message queues. इन सबको explore करो, explore these things, and just see if you can create a use case for Kafka in your project or not. And then maybe download Kafka, run an instance of it locally on your local host, play around with it, just see. Now then you will get to know that, okay, these kind of software systems are great for asynchronous processing. These kind of software systems, are great for stream processing, batch processing. इस तरह के ढेर सारे terms सुनने को मिलेंगे, and then you learn them. So yeah, it is much more unstructured, but this is how it is. It all starts with systems knowledge. सबसे पहले OS DBMS networks को अच्छे से सीखो, उसके बाद gradually move on to these things. Okay, I'm also looking at some other questions. तो somebody asked, गैप वाले बच्चों की जॉब लगना अब मुश्किल है. Okay, so few days back, I was again talking to a junior of mine. He was from IIT and he had taken a gap of 2 to 3 years, I think 3 years, for UPSC preparation. Such gaps are totally valid gaps, and I know a lot of recruiters who do not usually have a problem with it. So if you took a gap because of some genuine thing, then there'll be a lot of companies, lot of recruiters who will be all right with it. I'm not saying all of them would be, because it is something which depends upon how they perceive it. But if you took a gap to do something useful where you worked hard, then it's not like you lost those years. You continue to be a fighter in those years, right? So that is taken that way. But if your gap was without any reason, just chill मारने के लिए था, which I am assuming नहीं था, then that creates some problem. तो उसको fill करना थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है, right? You should be able to justify your gap if at all it was there. But above all, what will matter? See, you apply at lots of places, there will be at least some companies, some small startups which may be keen in interviewing you, maybe giving you one chance or something, right? वहाँ पे इन जस्ट फर्स्ट 15 to 30 minutes पता चल जाता है कि सामने वाले में कितना डेप्थ है, सामने वाले में कितना कैलिबर और एक्यूमेन है सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग करने का. 15 to 30 minutes में ये पता चल जाता है इजीली. सो इफ़ यू हैव प्रिपेयर्ड योर सेल्फ, if you have worked on all these three sorts of thinking, you have built a good project, you are great at problem solving, so you will be valued and you will be hired because you deserve to be hired, right? तो उस चीज़ का ध्यान रखना है क्या. स्मॉल एंड बिग स्टार्टअप्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से हायरिंग का सीन क्या है. सी व्हेन इट वाज इन बिटवीन 2016 to 2018 और 2019, तो इस दौरान क्या हुआ था कि ऑलमोस्ट ऑल कंपनीज वो हायरिंग लाइक क्रेजी. देयर वाज लॉट ऑफ इन्फ्लक्स ऑफ venture capitalist money in Indian startups. Okay, some of those startups unfortunately had to shut their shops also when they ran out of that money, but it was because of that money they were hiring a lot, right? And like I know, like some of the startup, like they were great startups. Some startups, they were kind of great at identifying the right talent, and they had very good interviewing paradigm also. But at certain places, maybe it was not taken care of that much. लेकिन आज के डेट में everybody is very I would say serious before making a higher call. तो वहाँ पे अगर स्टार्टअप्स की बात करें तो सिचुएशन अगेन इज़ where you'll have to be over prepared, where you'll have to show that you can be a valuable asset to them, because startups are usually fast paced, and they need hustlers. They need somebody who can adapt to things, adapt to new technologies. So I'll tell you, a startup might not be keen on hiring somebody who is great at, let's say, something, but they may be keen on hiring somebody who is very much adaptable. So how quickly you can learn Golang. Let's say आज के डेट में तुम्हें जावास्क्रिप्ट आता है, but if I have to build a product and I want to build it in Golang, can you quickly learn it without enough tantrums? Are you good with throwing away 80% of work that you have done because the startup has pivoted from one model to another model? Do you have that resilience? So, because see, it's not, when you're asking about startups, it's not just about getting into the startup, but it's also about surviving there, because a startup also survives. It's not a well established company, so it survives. Every day is like a survival. So you also have to prove your mettle, not just through your technical acumen, but also through your behavioral acumen, राइट. तो उन सब चीज़ों का ध्यान रखना होता है. और बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप, लाइक सम ऑफ माई सीनियर्स एंड फ्रेंड्स हु रन देयर स्टार्टअप्स, जब उनसे बात होती है, दे यूज टर्म्स लाइक दिस. दे से दैट वी वॉन्ट टू हायर हसलर्स, वी वॉन्ट टू हायर बिल्डर्स हु कैन बिल्ड थिंग्स. व्हेन किसी चीज़ को बिल्ड करने की बात करते हैं, then lot of things are involved. You want to build something from scratch, you have to know about front end, you have to know about back end, you have to know about cloud, you have to know about GitHub, you have to choose whether you want to go mono repo or multi repo. You have to decide on so many things. You have to collaborate with different stakeholders, sometimes directly with the client. A very different kind of mindset and acumen in general is required there. So if you're targeting something like that, you have to ask yourself, are you ready for something like that? And yeah, startups are choosy, and they have gone much more choosier पहले से भी ज़्यादा, I would say. Okay, Siddharth has a question. What is roadmap for me to get good company and have 5.5 experience in Angular and Node.js? So you have experience in Angular and Node.js. That is what you are saying. Roadmap. Look, there are two kind of companies which probably you can target. So there are a lot of companies which just wants to check problem solving and design acumen. These companies are लैंग्वेज एग्नोस्टिक एंड टेक एग्नोस्टिक, और ऐसे बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप्स भी हैं. आई विल टेल यू, लाइक दे डू नॉट केयर अबाउट आपको कौन सा लैंग्वेज आता है या आपको कौन सा टेक्नोलॉजी आता है. तो इफ़ यू आर टारगेटिंग समथिंग लाइक दैट, यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर ग्रेट एट प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग एंड यू आर ग्रेट एट डिज़ाइन. दैट्स इट, and you are done, right? But then there are certain companies, those are also great companies, but then they explicitly want to check how good you are with a certain framework. For example, if a certain company is hiring for Spring Boot developer, they would want you to know in and out about Spring MVC, its architecture, Hibernate, how it works, and all those things. If you're talking about JavaScript, you're talking about Node.js. So there'll be companies who might want to check how solid you are with advanced JavaScript skills, right? So, and these both companies are good companies to work with, but then you have to, kind of figure out that where do you want to go. If you want to go to the first league of companies, you have to work a lot entirely on problem solving and design skills. But if it's the second one, you of course have to work on problem solving and design, but the weight is not that much. Maybe the weightage could be 50% for this and 50% for that, or it could even be 40-60, 20-80, depending upon the company, because there the genre is very different. The genre of interview is very, very different. So first you have to explore what kind of what kind of uh, organizations are you looking out to go for, and based on that you can do your preparation. Because I'm talking about this thing, so I'll share one more stuff over here. See, before you apply to any company or before you go ahead with interview, make sure you read JD very carefully. So take two things: take the JD, which is job description, and take your resume, and find out the intersection between these two documents. How much of intersection is there? If intersection is zero, that's not a great company to interview for. Let's say you are reading JD of a company in embedded domain and you have experience of Android or Java. There would be no intersection. So there is no use applying. But if there is a huge intersection, then, or huge intersection or good enough intersection, in that case you can definitely go ahead and apply. So you have to do that research, especially if you are a working professional and you have some niche skill sets. You'll have to do this research and figure things out. um, how to handle question about gap year. I answered it. I talked about it by saying, like, you have to justify your gap. If your gap was because of UPSC preparation, that's a very valid reason, and a lot of companies and recruiters would be okay with it. Okay, but if the gap was for no reason, then that can be a red flag. Yeah. Abhishek is asking, when I am not able to solve a problem, even after trying hard, I get depressed and tend to give up. How to overcome this? I think this is a good question, and this is a question which I hear almost every alternate day from our learners out there. And I'm sure that this is not just Abhishek's question, but this question must be wrangling in the mind of lot other people also. See, we have a tendency to be in our own comfort zone, and then we do not want to come out of it. Even if somebody pulls us out of that comfort zone, we feel like, this is not where I belong. Let me just come back to it. But where does the learning happen? Learning happens when you are in discomforted zone. So a person I know who is an incredible software engineer, he once said that you have to learn how to be comfortable with uncomfortable situations. सवाल नहीं हो रहा है क्वेश्चन हार्ड लग रहा है, या प्रोजेक्ट का बिल्ड फट रहा है, you're getting errors. These are uncomfortable situations. And now how is our mind trained? हमारा mind बचपन से ऐसे trained होता है कि everything has to be good, everything has to be sorted and ordered. But that is not how it is in software engineering. That is not how it is in computer science. If you write a code, if you run it for the first time, 99.9% of the time, it will give you error. So you have to be okay with that. If you are getting a lot of errors, you just have to be okay with that. Now, there is a systematic approach to bash every bug or to bash every error. Do not run away from errors. Do not run away from bugs. Read the logs. Read the understand what the problems are, and then work forward to solve it. See, when you are given a hard DSA problem and you're working on it, and let's say your mind is racing in two, three, four different directions, pick a particular direction. Think about it. What will happen is that either you will not be able to find out any test case where it fails, you will submit the code, and then the code fails, and then you will know that test case. That is one way. Second way is you will yourself be able to figure out कि ये इस तरह के situation में नहीं चलेगा. In that case, you will drop it, move on to something else. So do this exercise of picking one thing, either accepting it or rejecting it. If you are not able to reject, just try it out and move on. After you have done this thing and still you have not been able to crack, that is the time to seek out for help. Why am I answering your question in this manner is because I don't want to say 1 hour is the ideal time to attempt, 2 hours is the ideal time to attempt. No, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. When your mind is now blank and you're not able to think anymore, during that time, reach out for help. Help doesn't mean code. Never ever look out for code. Hint simply means somebody telling you things like these that, hey, look, the numbers are alternating, even, odd, even, odd, even, odd. Or somebody tells you that, hey, look, all the numbers are lesser than 10 power 6. So such sorts of hints will, you know, uh, force your mind to think in a particular direction. And then whatever you learn stays with you for long. But if you look at the code, or even if you look at the editorial solutions are not written from the perspective of educating you. They are written from the perspective of being just a good editorial solution. So if you read them out, you are not learning something. And even if you get an impression of you are learning something, it's just going to be there for just maybe few moments, and then it will evaporate. So look out for hints rather than looking out for the actual solution. And build a community of learners, build a community of people who along with you love to code. They love to have these aesthetic communication conversations. You learn a lot when you are in the community of people who have that similar aspirations. Like otherwise, if you are, a lot of the times, you know, we get approvals from the people around us. So if people around us, they are not doing great, but they are chill about it, we also pretend to be like that. But if we are with people who have fire inside them, we catch that fire, right? I am targeting expert on code forces. I am working as SD. I have good understanding of standard DSA and I've solved problems on lead code. Bhaiya, any tips to achieve it faster? Okay. See, first of all, I would say uh, whatever problems you have solved till now, uh, just just look at some of the hard problems from them. Okay, just pick some of the hard problems, some of the hard problems that you really solved on your own. Okay, and see if you are able to solve them again on your own or not. So let's say there was a problem you solved 2 years ago, solve it again and see if you are able to do it. If you are not able to do it, that means the first time you did it, you probably didn't do it the right way. Maybe somebody told you and you did it. Maybe you remembered some concept from somewhere and then you directly applied it. Usually, what happens is when we are in the rush of increasing the number of problems solved, we do not focus a lot on the quality. The quality time that you spend with a problem is something that makes you a good problem solver, right? So that is something that you should be looking forward to. Now, a lot of people have this tendency in them to give contest every day or every week. If you want to get a good rank in some marathon race, then first you have to practice. You have to practice jogging on your own for several months or years, and then you have to go there. Contests are like marathons. So if you are giving contests consistently and you are only able to solve one or two questions, there is no use of that because you're not growing, right? So when you see that any platform you are where you are targeting any tag, expert or specialist or candidate master or anything, then the first thing that I would say is wherever you are, if you give contest, just see how many problems you are able to solve. If you are not able to solve beyond two problems, it's time to take a break and focus on the structured mode of learning. Just pick what your weaknesses are. You'll be able to figure out. You'll be able to figure out that, hey, I am not able to solve hard, greedy problems. I'm not able to solve questions that involve recursion in them. So you'll be able to figure out those categories and then you can put focused effort on those categories and then you will learn. So this is something that you should look forward to, and do not be in a rush. Again, I would say do not be in a rush to get to a level or to get to a number of problems that you have solved. Rather, focus on the quality. Whatever you are learning, how well you are learning it. Are you uh, like, see, I always tell people do not directly read an algorithm. Let's say there is something called as Kruskal's algorithm. Do not uh, read it. Rather, read the problem statement behind it. The problem statement is of minimum spanning tree, right? So try creating that minimum spanning tree on your own. Who knows, you can come up with Kruskal's algorithm or something like that on your own, right? So that is the way to learn. Any problem statement that you are given, how do you attempt it? In the exact same manner, right? You give your best, then you come up with something which could be either same as editorial solution, better or worse or whatever. But then that is how you learn, right? Uh, how to choose which problems to practice so that a wide range of topics are covered. It's very simple. You can always start with solving. So figure out what your current level is. If you are able to solve easy questions very easily, do not solve them anymore. Just focus on medium problems. Solve a lot of medium problems across different topics. See, a lot of the times people say that why should I prepare topic wise? Because in interview I am not told which topic this question belongs to. This is not the right argument. The first level of preparation that you do, if you are doing a dedicated preparation, has to always happen in a structured manner. When you learn about, let's say, the concept of next greater element in a stack, monotonic stack, then your brain tries finding pattern in the new question wherever it can be applied, right? So the first sweep of learning that you have to do it in a structured mode, depending upon wherever you are. If you have done easy ones, move on to the medium. If you have done medium ones, move on to the hard. And to answer your question specifically, in every data structure, there are different patterns out there. Okay. And you'll have to find out what those patterns are and you'll have to spend substantial amount of time with those patterns. थोड़ा टाइम स्पेंड करना होगा, तब जा कर के कॉन्फिडेंस वहाँ से आएगा. तो तुम किसी भी चीज़ का एग्जांपल लो, जैसे तुम डायनामिक प्रोग्रामिंग सीख रहे हो, तो डायनामिक प्रोग्रामिंग में भी कैटेगरी है. लाइक जैसे बोलते हैं ना 1D DP 2D DP, और ज़्यादा कैटेगराइज कर सकते हैं. देयर इज़ अ लीग ऑफ DP प्रॉब्लम्स ऑन ट्रीज, देयर इज़ अ लीग ऑफ DP प्रॉब्लम्स ऑन knapsacks, on subsets. ऑन ग्राफ्स. तो इन कैटेगरीज को जब करोगे, इनके इजी मीडियम हार्ड्स को करोगे, तब जा करके द ब्रेन विल start evolving and getting better at it. Okay, as a fresher, is HTML, CSS, JS, and all enough for front end role? Yeah, really they are. Not even as a fresher, but also as an experienced one. An experienced of front end developer also knows these things only, but knows in depth, right? So a few days back, I was talking to somebody who had developed his front end in Next.js. I asked that person, why Next.js? Why not React? He didn't know about it. He just told me that Next.js is very popular, very hot these days. ऐसा कभी मत करना अपने इंटरव्यूज़ में, ओके? अगर इंटरव्यूअर तुमसे पूछता है कि तुमने प्रोजेक्ट में मोंगो डीबी क्यों यूज़ किया, तो ये मत बोलना कि दैट वाज द ओनली थिंग दैट आई न्यू. यू शुड हैव अ रीज़न वाई यू चोज समथिंग अगेंस्ट समथिंग. जैसे डीएसए में बोल सकते हो ना, तुमने डीएसए का एक सोल्यूशन लिखा है, इंटरव्यूअर पूछता है हैश मैप क्यों यूज़ किया, एरे क्यों यूज़ नहीं किया, तो यू कैन से कि मुझे रैंडम की बेस्ड लुकअप्स करने थे, राइट? तो सिमिलरली यू शुड हैव आंसर टू दीज क्वेश्चंस ऑल्सो, कि नेक्स्ट क्यों यूज़ किया, रिएक्ट क्यों नहीं यूज़ किया. Prabhat is saying he has 4 years gap, took UPSC prep after BTech. I'm aiming for product-based startups. Is it possible to get? Yeah, yeah. See, UPSC के कारण काफ़ी सारे लोगों का, like for a lot of people, the gap gets a lot. It depends upon how many tries they want to give, and I know it is very hard. I know it because a lot of my close friends and relatives have also prepared for it, and very few succeed because there are very few seats, right? So I can relate to your problem, but once you have made your mind to come back to the industry, then you have to give 100% to your preparation. Why I'm saying this is, I have seen a lot of people rowing both the boats. वो थोड़ा सा यूपीएससी भी करेंगे, थोड़ा सा प्रेप भी करेंगे, तो दोनों में से कुछ भी नहीं हो पाता है. Pick one thing, do it for some time. Once you are there, once you have prepared well, एक बार तुमने अच्छे से प्रिपेयर कर लिया, यू नो अंदर से एक कॉन्फिडेंस आ जाता है कि मैं डीएसए के सवाल तो कर ही लूँगा. लो लेवल डिज़ाइन में मज़ा आ गया, आई विल बी एबल टू टेक एनी केस स्टडी. एंड तो उस केस में क्या होता है ना, कि इंटरव्यू डजेंट अपियर एज इंटरोगेशन. देयर इज डिफरेंस बिटवीन interview and interrogation. Interrogation is like some CBI, somebody is sitting with you, CID who is trying to interrogate you. Interview का ऐसा पर्पस नहीं होता है. Interview is more like a dialogue. So if you are confident about your skill sets, your abilities, then you relish it, you sort of enjoy it, right? तो अगर प्रिपरेशन तुमने कर ली है, I know there will be some companies which might not be okay with your year gap, but then there are a lot of companies which I know have hired a lot of people who went back from tech to UPSC preparation and came back from UPSC to joining them. I have met dozens such people this year only, and I'm not exaggerating, really. Um, okay, the next question is again related to it. You're getting depressed due to recession and career gap. Um, okay, I see it. See, there are few things to understand. There are a lot of reasons, uh, and this is a hard statement, okay? So can take it with a pinch of salt. What we do is, whenever we feel hopeless about something, we delegate the cause of that hopelessness to something. And we delegate it to something which we can do nothing about. Like, for example, somebody prepared for UPSC for let's say 5-6 years and then couldn't crack it, got back to interview preparation, and now he keeps feeling hopeless, doesn't do anything, and just says that मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा बिकॉज मैंने वो 5-6 साल खो दिए. वो जो 5-6 साल खो दिए उसका आप कुछ कर सकते हो क्या? यू कांट डू एनी थिंग अबाउट इट. सो डू यू सी, आर माइंड इज़ लॉजिकल, राइट? तो हम अपने लॉजिकल माइंड को एक ऐसा बहाना देते हैं जिसका कुछ नहीं किया जा सकता. सो like, I know it's a hard statement, but why I'm giving this is because I want you to introspect कि कहीं ये तो नहीं हो रहा है. आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि ऐसा हो रहा होगा, बट अगर ऐसा कुछ हो रहा है, then you need to immediately get over it. You need to talk to your mentor, talk to whoever you feel is the right person to talk to, and get over it as soon as possible. You will surely be able to get a very good job if you have prepared yourself well. Like, I can see I can see that uh, from the description that you have mentioned, 4 year BTech chemical engineering, and you have mentioned you're passed out from IIT. Like, India mein, there is a lot of, uh, I would say, bias still in the mind of recruiters when it comes to hiring. If you happen to be from a top tier college, you get lot of advantage. तो तुमने अगर अपने को अच्छे से प्रिपेयर कर लिया, and I have seen a lot of people from my college itself who had this huge career gap, and they were also, kind of depressed. They were feeling कि क्या होगा, because they feel like they are starting from zero. They feel like whatever they did वो ज़ीरो हो गया, और अब वो ज़ीरो से शुरू कर रहे हैं. बट दिस इज़ नॉट हाउ द वर्ल्ड वर्क्स. हाँ, टेक्निकली तुमने वो स्किल्स गेन नहीं किए, but you have undergone that pain, that perseverance in that UPSC preparation. And then when you get back to the tech industry, you will be able to apply that perseverance and forbearance in your day to day life, into your day to day work. So it's not like चीज़ें ज़ीरो हो जाती है, नहीं होती है ज़ीरो. वैसा मत सोचो. Not think about that. Does that make sense? I want it to make sense. Abhishek is asking, for any topic, how can I be sure that I'm prepared enough even after solving a lot of problems or topic? Uh, See, there is no direct way. कोई direct तरीका नहीं है. But I'll tell you one thing. Pick some random 7 to 8 problems and see how many you are able to solve in how much time. If you are able to solve, let's say, all of them, or more than 90% of them, then you are good with that topic. उस टॉपिक में अच्छे हो. ऑल्सो वट यू कैन डू इज़ दैट, आजकल बहुत जगह ये डेटा होता है, डिफरेंट पैटर्न्स इन डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स. लाइक लोग बोलते हैं कि टू पॉइंटर अप्रोच, स्लाइडिंग विंडो अप्रोच फॉर एरेज, दिस एंड दैट. तो अगर कोई ऐसा टॉपिक तुम्हें दिखता है विच यू डू नॉट फील वेरी कंफर्टेबल विद, तो उस टॉपिक को थोड़ा ज़्यादा, you can rub that topic little more. So these are the ways, these are the standard ways. Okay, hard problems लो, especially hard problems लो, and whatever solution you come up with, like, hit and trial तो करना बंद ही कर दो. If you are doing any hit and trial, just stop it. कि you come up with one approach, it doesn't work, you change, इस टेस्ट केस पे फटा, you again change, वो मत करो. Like, somebody once told me that best guy in an interview is that guy who takes proper 15 to 20 minutes to think and then only takes 5 minutes to code. Because coding is just like typing. एक बार दिमाग में अप्रोच क्लियर है, then you are able to code it perfectly well. हम लोग क्या करते हैं, कोड भी कर रहे होते हैं और सोच भी रहे होते हैं. So you're typing also, thinking also. उन दोनों में से कुछ भी अच्छे से नहीं हो पाता है. So when the mind is thinking, do not type. Okay? If at all, take a pen and paper, draw some diagrams, images, wo karo. Write some pseudocode if you want. And then when you are convinced about its proof of correctness, then move on to coding it. ये सब चीज़ें भी बहुत मैटर करती हैं. Ishan is asking, can I join Tech Fellowship program now? Is it available? Yeah, it is available. So, by the way, we moved our office to Sector 62 in Noida. So, if you are around, you can come visit us. So, we are in a place called as Iconic Corinthum. So, if you want, you can come visit us. You can talk to us. We are always there. We pride ourselves as being the most student or learner obsessed organization. So we love interacting with people. So you can come. We run a tech fellowship program where students come, they build industry projects, and they are in our office. So from morning 10 till 6, they are in our office, and this program runs for 3 to 6 months. And then it's a very fast-paced learning. It's very interesting workplace where they get to work with product managers and tech leads. So you can come explore that if you want. Yeah. Okay, it's 10 p.m. now, and it's winter, so also I'm not sure how many of you had dinner or not, so I don't want to keep you awake for so long. By the way, was it a useful session? How many of you feel like uh, you gained clarity on certain things? Could it answer some of the questions that you guys had in your mind? Did it work out? Okay. So projects for data analytics and data science, we are not doing it currently, but we will be doing it. Uh, yeah, fellowship program is placement supported because we take very few people, and then the major thing is that the tremendous amount of learning and industry projects that they do, that is good enough to keep them sailing. Okay, uh, great guys. So it was great interacting with you all. I'll try to get somebody uh, with me for the next session where maybe we'll discuss few more interesting things. Maybe we can have some teaching session also if that's required. Okay, and if at all that can help you, and then we'll see how it kind of goes. But I would be little interested in knowing that like if at all you were planning to learn something, what would it be? Like, is there some DSA topic or anything which you feel if we run a series of live sessions on that could be helpful? I just want to know from you. You can just mention those topics and we'll see if we can conduct few live classes on those for you guys. Our office address is at Sector 62 in Noida, iconic Corinthum. Yeah, in online programs, what we do is we mock interview people. The people who are very well prepared, we push their resumes. So that also works like this. You can check out some of our very special success stories. I have published some amazing success stories. It's present on this YouTube channel itself. You will gain a lot of clarity about the amount of hard work, resilience those guys had in their entire journey and the kind of support that they got for whatever they did. Cool then. So I think we should call it a day. We should wrap it up now. Uh, let's see when can we meet next. Till then, if you have any concerns, any questions, anything to ask, you guys can definitely put it in the chat box. Okay then. So see you all again. Bye. Take care and good night.